Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. Welcome to the very first video version of Cranked and Ranked. I guess technically,
long time coming.
Yeah, I guess technically we've done video versions, but they were just me editing the podcast with some images. But this is legit. It's too legit to quit. So it's nice to finally see what you look like, dude. I mean,
hell yeah. I just been a mystery voice on this podcast for the last.
So like, does he look like Hugh Grant? Like, what is his thing? That's what all British people are Hugh Grant to. Well, because why not?
Yeah, totally.
All right, so yeah, today's episode, or today's first ever visual one, is going to be us talking about our top 5 80s thrash metal album covers. So we decided to do a visual kind of thing. For those of you who don't know, Cranked and Ranked is a podcast that this gentleman and I do pretty much weekly, where we rank album discographies and other shit that are rock and metal related. And we've been doing it. Fuck, how long have we been doing it for? Like 4 months?
I think since June.
Shit, man, really? Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit, and so finally we're bringing our beautiful faces to you. Well, one beautiful face.
Oh yeah, come on.
I do what I can with it, you know.
Oh, you look great, dude.
You're a sweetheart. So let's just jump right into it. Yeah. Do you have, your first time here on the camera, anything to say to the folks out there at home?
Hi, this is my face.
and yeah.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing we got going is like, now you can see our faces. Woo!
I want to state as well, I might look pretty shiny. I got out of the bath not long ago, so I got kind of
a legit bath, or are you calling a shower a bath?
No, it was a bath. It was a bath. It just felt like chilling out.
Folks. were there bubbles involved?
Nah. It was just a nice chill out where I put on some thrash and had a nice soak.
Did you have a beer? You need to have a beer in the bath. That just seems like you're supposed to do it.
See, I think I turn relaxing things into the most stress-inducing things because, like, the thing is, I'll take like a bath, but I'll take like my laptop or a Bluetooth speaker with me and blast a thrash metal album while drinking coffee in the bath.
Either way, it would see over there. It is beer time. Over here it's coffee time. It's 12:48 and noon time over here, so it means it's almost 7 o'clock for you over there.
Yeah, coming up for it.
Time change, because we're not in the same country. This is why things like Zoom and the internet are amazing, because we can do this kind of shit.
Hell yeah.
Let's fucking do it. So top 5 1980s thrash metal album covers. I honestly don't think mine are going to surprise anybody that watches my shit. but you seem to be the one that sometimes throws in those wild cards where I go, oh, okay. So I'm excited. So I'll let you go first, as usual, as is the norm.
Cool. So for my number 5 pick, I've gone for an absolutely badass looking album cover, and that is The Years of Decay by Overkill.
Okay.
This is just the embodiment of 80s thrash. You got that skull temple thing going on. You got that bright neon green pointy chunky logo. It's got like fucking bat wing windows coming out of it, and like the little attention to detail with the spooky moon at the top, just like cherry on the cake. But
we'll flash that up there really quick for the folks there. That's what we're talking about. Overkill, Years of Decay, which is actually my favorite Overkill album.
It's a fucking fantastic record.
And it is a pretty cool album cover. When it comes to that style of album cover, using skull related things or dark imagery and metal, for some reason that shit doesn't connect with me as much as other things do, because I guess it just seems so like it's way too on the nose. But that's definitely a cool album cover and a cool album.
And I will say, I am a strong, firm believer that this is an impossible thing to deny. Avenged Sevenfold ripped their fucking logo, the bat logo, from this album cover, dude.
Yeah.
Like, the mascot altogether.
Because even on the Under the Influence, there's a bat thing in the music video for Hello from the Gutter. They got a little bat thing flying around the whole time. Yeah, fuck Avenged Sevenfold.
But yeah, I don't know if I've ever disclosed this on the podcast, but my favorite color is lime green. So like the glowing lime green logo and eyes just add that is a whole other layer of why I like it.
Awesome.
But I just love the whole spooky castle vibe of this thing. And it like you say, it's on the nose, but 80s metal is yeah. It's cool. Definitely an on the nose cover, but it's on the nose music.
Now, I would agree with that. So this has green in it. You'll like my first one, I guess. So there's for some reason overall with album covers, I'm not a fan of photographs. Like I like art, the Ed Repka shit or whatever. Like I like paintings and drawings because I don't know why. I feel like if they put so much effort into the album cover, it makes me go, oh, I want to hear the fucking album. Like and sometimes it doesn't add up. There's some great cover art for shitty albums. But there are a couple exceptions for photographs being the cover of an album, and this is one of them. Fabulous Disaster by Exodus.
Dude.
Which has a little green in the logo there for you.
Hey.
Actually, there's different versions where the logo is different colors, but this is a 1989 pressing of this album, and I've always just liked how we can just flash a big version up there. Editor, do it.
Yeah.
It's just for something about it. It's so iconically thrash. Just these dudes hanging out in this room where it's like there's some liquor bottles, there's some flyers on the walls, there's a TV, it's like they're in a bunker or garage or something. I don't know. It's not a bunker, obviously, but you can see through the walls. But I don't know this is just one of those iconic images that when I think of thrash metal, I think of this album cover for some reason. Like it just has like I guess you could say when it comes to like the personalities of a lot of the thrash musicians, just their overall, because most of them didn't come across as like super serious dudes. And so I guess that the Exodus album cover is just a great example of like the attitude of the thrash bands, which is probably why like I connect with them so much, because it's fast, aggressive, metal music, but they're not so stuck in an image or a style that they couldn't fuck with other things and a little levity with their stuff. So that's my number 5.
Definitely. I definitely see what you mean with like the personalities and stuff. I love we've said this before many times, but I love feeling like you could hang out with a band and it'd be a great time. And that kind of cover gives off that vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah. So my number 4, I get to show off an LP for this one.
Great.
I've gone for Ride the Fucking Lightning.
I mean, well, I'm not going to argue with this one at all.
The thing I love about this album cover is the fact that it's got a kind of color to it that I don't usually see on like metal album covers. And the fact that it's just this simple yet it's kind of like this enticing electric blue kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And I know that if I touched anything going on in this image, I would be killed instantly.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like luring me in to like, yeah, Greg, touch this fucking album.
It's an album cover that in just by description would seem pretty boring. Like the album cover was going to be an electric chair with some lightning bolts going from our logo, and that's it. And then they came up with that. Whoever drew that, I feel like I should know who did the artwork, but I don't.
We can add that in editing.
It'll be like a thing where the artwork was created by, and it'll go over. Or people can put that down below in the comments and let me know who painted the Ride the Lightning album cover.
But yeah, overall, I just love, in my opinion, the 80s Metallica logo is, one of the most iconic logos in general of all time. Yeah. And I think it looks so badass here. Just this giant metal word that's just emitting lightning bolts from it. And again, there is something about 80s metal albums that does feel maybe a little bit on the nose, but on the same, I don't think it's that on the nose though. Like, no, even though there is like,
not that one. I don't think so at all.
Yeah. I have to admit something as well here. For years, I actually thought that the thing in the middle here, the electric chair, was actually one of those like old school microphones. I actually thought it was like, I totally didn't see the electric chair until I really paid attention to it. And it's funny, actually, my friend from back in high school, he's also called Steven. He said to me one time, it was a non-uniform day, and I came in wearing a Ride the Lightning shirt, and he was like, "Why have you got a t-shirt of a wheelchair being struck by lightning?" And I was like, do the math on that one, dude. Come on, look a little closer.
Although the microphone idea, now I immediately go, why hasn't some hip-hop artist picked up on that and do a version of the Ride the Lightning cover where it's a microphone in the middle of the picture? Maybe they'll get sued. I don't know. But you are right on about the logo. Like a lot of metal album covers, I love it when the band logo is just really big across the top, because it's sometimes like that's enough. Like if there was a Metallica album and it was just the logo of Metallica done really, nicely, I'd be like, that's all the album cover that they need.
Yeah.
On there. So I miss it when that logo is not there. Like when they went to the slightly different logo in the 90s, or when they put out like, Saint Anger or what's the one after that? Death Magnetic, where there's no logo on the front of it. I'm just like, oh man, come on, throw me a bone. But totally. That's a good segue into my number 4, because speaking of logos being really fucking big and looking badass, my number 4 is Practice What You Preach.
Oh wow.
Testament. Like that, look, that's a big ass logo right there.
Totally. It takes up like a third of the album cover.
And I like the fact that, that if you look, there's like clouds everywhere, and there's the Testament logo, but they're casting shadows that look like crosses. So I'm all like, the light is coming from the Testament logo, man.
Yeah.
So we'll throw a big one up there too for this, but that's an album cover that it's really stuck with me, because I first got Testament and Anthrax were the first 2 thrash metal bands that I got really into. For some reason, Metallica took a little bit longer for me, and Practice What You Preach was the first one I got, and it's been my favorite ever since. And the album cover, they've done great album covers. Like I could have done Souls of Black. That's a fucking great album cover too. But this one, for some reason, I think it goes along with what you're saying with like Ride the Lightning, how like the colors on it, it's not your usual metal album cover, although it can easily be looked at as metal. It's just sometimes that's all it takes is the good combination of colors. It's like a thing that I would never know how to do because I can't draw for shit. I fuck up stick figures when I'm trying to draw.
Same.
So when I see people that are so good at blending these colors and making this atmosphere with this art, that's why I'm all like, yeah, pay a badass artist to do your album cover. And then why wouldn't you? If I, I was never lucky enough to be in a full on metal band in my life. But if I had been, I would have been all like, yeah, why don't let's hire some badass artist to do our cover.
Yeah.
That's my number 4, practice what you preach.
Cool. I want to highlight as well, like, generally speaking, with like metal album covers, you can kind of expect it's very often you get, your black and your red usually being like darkness and blood and that kind of thing. Yeah. It's really cool and refreshing to see whenever like they go a completely different route with it, like Testament's Practice What You Preach.
Yeah.
Because even though it's not like, there's something about it that shows that it's a metal album without being, this is a fucking metal album because of skulls and blood and it's like, here's some really cool looking desert fucking creatures and with the Testament logo giving them light,
I wonder if it did come across to some people that they were a Christian band because of that whole album cover.
Yeah.
Because I could see that.
I see the light.
Yeah. Cool. So what you got for number? We're already on number 3. I guess we are trying to make this shorter. So, but
Yeah. So I initially forgot that we were doing 80s thrash, but I rectified it at the last second because I was going to
say, if you're gonna throw in a 90s and I had to leave motherfuckers out, not fair, dude.
See, that's the thing. I thought to myself, could I get away with 1991? But I thought, nah.
I was going to do a 1990, and I went, I can't do 1990 because it doesn't have the number 8 in it. So we'll do that. We'll do another one, which is 90s.
Cool. So I had to dial it back a couple years, back to 1989, and I've gone for Sepultura's Beneath the Remains.
Yeah.
Now,
that's one that was almost in my list. That's another one that's a little bit different to me, even though it is a skull. We'll throw the image up there. It's like a skull. It's got some flowers on it and shit. Like there's something in the fact that it's not front and center in the picture. That's such an interesting album cover to me.
It kind of plays with that whole like negative space kind of thing. Like it uses a lot of emptiness to accentuate something that's going on here. And now that I take a close look at it, I know I literally just said you get your typical reds and black kind of things. But again, this isn't done in a kind of conventional way. Like
I'd say that their next album cover, Arise, that's way more like metal. It's very this one it's kind of subtle.
Yeah, and the more you look at it, the more you see. And like I've only just noticed that there's a hole in the top of it with smoke coming out of it.
Yeah.
There's like a whole other separate skull coming out of the side of it. It's got, like you say, the roses, the coins. I think I see like a dice on it. And then you look and there's like a fucking demon bat like in there as well, hiding in its face. Like what a badass painting,
I just want to put that slogan on a t-shirt. The more you look, the more you see.
Yeah. It's true though. Like there's so much going on, yet there's so much space that's blank, but it's so effective at the same time.
Yeah, doing this video has really made me realize that as much as I'm a huge fan of these bands, and I read all about the bands that I love, and I try to know everything I can know. For some reason, the artwork is a thing that I've sort of left as a mystery. Like I don't know the story behind them picking that album cover for Beneath the Remains. And there's a part of me that I almost don't want to know because I don't want it.
Don't want to ruin the mystery.
Yeah, the mystery, especially of that image, because it's very different for especially in '89 when bands were doing a big ass logo with a very symmetrical looking painting of something, and they didn't. It's all kind of it's off-putting in a way, but in a really cool way.
I think as well it shows off like that this. I always found with Sepultura is that they were like kind of in terms of heaviness a cut above your average thrash band. Like they were verging on death metal very often. So they kind of get given the thrash/death moniker because of stuff like this. Like this album in itself fucking rules. It's brutal. But even down to the artwork, which is what we're talking about now, it's fucking scary to look at. Like it's one of those that's like, I feel scared looking at this image, whereas like when I look at Ride the Lightning, I think that's cool. When I look at this, I think I'm terrified of this.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that one in because I left that one out.
Yeah, I felt as though I had to include something that just I just look at it and
look at it, folks.
It really is just such a terrifying image, and it's almost like you don't see the whole creature. So like it could be this horrendous monster, and all you can see is its head.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing that's so weird about it is the fact that you don't know what's going on below the picture. And that's just great artwork to me.
Totally rad, dude.
well, for my number 3, it's another Photograph album cover. This one is, to me, this is iconic as fuck, and I'm stepping out into the crossover area here with this one.
Feel free.
My number 3 is How Will I Laugh Tomorrow When I Can't Even Smile Today? That image, I don't know what it is about it. It's like I said with album covers, sometimes you see an album cover and you're like, I want to fucking hear whatever this is. And I remember first seeing this before I'd ever heard Suicidal. I may have heard Institutionalized, I'm not sure. But it's just an iconic image, and the dudes just looked like no other band that I had seen at that point. And so I don't know. And it's just that's the image that I just constantly assign to suicidal tendencies, even though only Mike remains from that lineup of the band. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in it. Suicidal is still these dudes, because that's just what I think of when I think of that band.
That cover actually nearly made my list, solely based on the fact that it gives off, to me personally, it gives off kind of like GTA San Andreas gang kind of vibes. Like it gives off like, it almost looks like a hip hop album.
And that being said, you flash up like, I don't know, a Slayer album cover. That's eerie and creepy or whatever, but these dudes look scary. Like if you put, if like I would be all like, okay, I can deal with that Slayer album cover. For some reason, these dudes are just like, no, this seems like it's heavy. They're gonna fuck my shit up. Which is funny because
they look like
the title track is like all kind of soft, well, for half of it anyway. But
it definitely looks like a group of dudes that I would not pick a fight with. Like it does just have that kind of, am I going to get involved in a drive-by if I start shit here? Like,
I mean, in the early days you would have, but now if you run into Mike Muir, he's just going to talk your ear off. He does that at every show anyway. He's going to tell you some life lessons you never knew you needed to know. He's going to tell you. So yeah, that's my number 3.
Awesome. We're absolutely blazing through this episode.
That's all right. We want to. I think for trying this visual version out, we'll keep it short.
Yeah.
Then maybe next time, if this goes well, maybe we'll do the whole episodes this way, and the podcast. We'll keep that shit going. We'll see how it goes. And put your comments down below. What do you think about this? Is this better? Is seeing our faces and expressions is that better? And dances?
They can't see me vibing without the camera.
That's very true. But I guess the only downside to it is that I gotta fix my hair. No.
What our listeners don't know is that I have been doing this whole fucking time.
I've just been eating cake like every episode. That's all I do. Anyway, so you're number 2.
Cool. So for my number 2, I've gone for a Canadian band who I feel are underrated, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I've got the LP here. It's got a little bit of damage, but I just think it looks cool and worn in at this point. So here it is. Alice in Hell by Annihilator.
All right.
It has a real cool kind of 80s horror movie vibe to it. You've got all of the creepy dolls like splayed across the staircase, and you've got fucking Chucky down here waiting around the corner. And I just want to point out as well, Annihilator, I feel, have a really, really cool logo. It's one of those that it looks futuristic in context to their kind of more technical aspects, so that they always felt very tight and very precise with exactly what they were doing. Jeff Waters, absolutely incredible guitarist, but it still retains that badass 80s metal look to it.
See, and there you go. People out on YouTube that keep saying that I don't ever talk about Annihilator. Here you go.
That's my job.
I'm not big on Annihilator. It's just none of it's ever clicked with me, but it's not for lack of quality. Like it's good shit. I'll get around to it at some point, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of classic bands for me personally as well that I still have yet to click with. My biggest one that I'm guilty of is actually AC/DC, and I know the hits and I like the hits, but I feel as though I need to really be pointed in a certain direction of albums. I can't go chronologically.
I think some people would say that if you know the hits, you kind of know the band, because they.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't. I think they get a raw deal when people say they make the same song all the time, because they don't. They make similar songs at times, but that's one that's a little harder to get into, because there's no progression, or if there is a progression, it's really minor things. And so it's hard unless you were there while the albums were coming out, which I wasn't. Like, I didn't know AC/DC until the late 80s or whatever. But I can see how it's hard to get into that one. I do think, though, going back to Annihilator, I feel like they are starting to get their recognition, though. I see people talk about them a lot more than I ever did. And I mean, it's cool that dude's still doing shit. I mean, albeit with a totally different lineup. It seems like it's always a totally different lineup.
I was gonna the first 3 albums have 3 different vocalists on them.
Does he sing now? Is he back to singing himself?
I think so. I think
he did that for a little while too.
Yeah. I think actually it was quite recent that the singer from this album passed away. I think his name was Randy Rampage. I think he passed away. I remember news of it. So if he's not dead, I'm sorry. But
if you're not dead, we didn't want to kill you. But
yeah,
that sucks. Cool. Well, that's a great one. That's one I feel good, because I feel bad that I don't talk about that group, but it's only because they haven't connected with me at this point. But then we're going to move on. So my last 2 are literally everyone's just going to go, yeah, Steven, we already knew. Uh, so my number two, I'm not even gonna lead up to it. Among the Living by Anthrax.
Yeah.
This it's a similar thing where it doesn't look like your normal metal album cover, and just, it looks spooky though. And then that dude,
Yeah.
the Poltergeist 2 looking guy, is which I'm guessing that's where the image is from. But it's this has always been a very iconic album cover to me, and I hate so many lights. So just throw the image up there. But it's like it's cool that it has the quality where, like I said before, where the colors that they used and the actual painting of it just looks really good. But at the same time, it's not an album cover. I haven't seen other album covers like this. It seems pretty unique.
Yeah.
And fun little extra. I got the figurine of the guy from Among the Living, which is
that's cool, dude.
Yeah, I don't buy toys. I'm not a guy that buys toys, but if you make anything Anthrax related, like I just ordered that Anthrax Among the Living graphic novel thing that they announced.
No way.
Did you hear about that? The graphic?
No, I haven't.
It's a collection of comics that were written and illustrated for each song on Among the Living, and it's got everybody's written on it, but the people that like whose names obviously Scott, Ian, and Charlie, but Rob Zombie is on the list. Gerard Way, if you know who Gerard Way is, because he's done comics himself. And there were other names that I recognize too, but I'm sure there are names on there also. Oh, Brian Posehn, because Brian Posehn did a run of Deadpool comics.
Yeah.
So he's had his hand in that shit too. And so I'm excited about that because I'm such a fanboy for Anthrax that if I had $500, I'd buy that new watch that they just put out too. It's a fucking Persistence of Time watch, and I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll get this. Oh, no, never mind. Fucking $500. And they didn't let Dan Spitz make it. That would have been fucking appropriate. Dan Spitz makes the Anthrax watch. They got my money. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, that's my Among the Living. You have anything to say about Among the Living?
It again, really cool looking cover. It's got that kind of spooky, not your typical metal kind of look to it. It's just kind of unsettling. It could easily be like a 70s psychological thriller movie poster. Like that's the kind of vibe I get from it.
Or a 70s prog rock album cover.
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those images that kind of transcends the genre, besides the fucking great big Anthrax logo on it.
Yeah.
It's it definitely could be just slapped on a prog album with some heavy moments, and you wouldn't think any different. You'd be none the wiser.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, we're down to number ones, man.
Cool. So my number one. Now this is another case of this was when I thought, that's 1990. Can I get away with it? But I had to think, no, we're sticking to the 80s rule. And I've gone for fucking Peace Sells, but who's buying?
I love the fact that two that didn't make my list made yours, and that I love this because I was like, God, I can't leave out Peace Sells. It's a great album cover, an Ed Repka album cover.
Totally.
Yeah.
It has everything that not only makes fucking thrash great, Megadeth great, but just what makes metal great in general is you look at this, you got a kick-ass mascot, a post-nuclear bomb hellscape, and a bunch of fighter jets as well.
Yeah.
And to top it all off, a badass golden logo that
once again the big ass logo on the cover.
Yeah. I feel as though you're not truly thrash unless you're logo would be a health and safety nightmare.
Yeah.
Because it's just so fucking cool, and the attention to detail, like you see at the bottom here, there's like a one-way sign that's just bowled over. They didn't have to put that there.
Yeah.
Then they've got Vic Realtors, Vic Rattlehead, the mascot. Like,
That's the first time I think we see the actual Eddie, or not Eddie, Vic. Just wait till we get to the 80s regular metal shit, so I can put some Iron Maiden in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first time you see the real Vic Rattlehead, as he would be known for later, because I guess I don't think there were any singles or anything that had that version of Vic, because the obviously the Killing Is My Business album cover is actually one of my favorites, but for a different reason.
Yeah. Because it's like, you can tell they blew all the budget on drugs.
Well, not only that, for some reason, that album cover, the Killing of My Business album cover, it seemed creepy to me because of the low budgetness of it. Like, that seems like a serial murderer made this and took a picture of it. So I'm like, that's creepier than any idea they could come up with. But
it does give off, being kidnapped and put in a basement kind of vibes, like that creepy serial killer hideout kind of thing going on. But yeah,
so see, Megadeth gets 2 album covers included in this discussion. Look at
that. But yeah, I was initially going to go with Rust in Peace, but that's a story for a different episode. And I actually just want to shout out as well. What is it called? So Far, So Good, So What?
Yeah.
Gives off a similar vibe to what you said about Killing Is My Business. Is some people always said they went from, the badass artwork of Peace Sells to this cheap, what the fuck is this action figure looking thing. But I feel as though it almost looks like footage from like a future conflict. And it's like, it creeps me out looking at it, because I think I would shit myself if I saw that thing coming at me.
Yeah, it's a different kind of creepy vibe.
Yeah,
so, yeah, cool. Well, they had three Megadeth album covers we get to talk about. I'm gonna put I'm gonna put all 3 of them up there. I ain't gonna fuck around. We're gonna
go for it.
Everyone's gonna get production value, that whatever I can throw at this video. I hate to end things on kind of like kind of note, but my number 1 is Ride the Lightning. So
it's a great cover.
It's my favorite album of all time. It's my favorite album cover of all time. This one's a little bit worn. This is an '84 pressing of this, and for some reason, as a vinyl collector, I like these things. Like, if there's a version of an album that's a little bit beat up, I'm like, well, I want that one, because that one has I feel like it has a story. It's lived a life since 1984, and now it's with me. Because I don't have any records from 1984. It's I wasn't collecting anything at that point. I was like 5 or something, 6.
There's a cool Instagram I think I saw one time called We Buy White Albums, and because Beatles' White Album is so minimal, every single one has its own spots and blotches and scratches and stuff. It's really cool. Some people even draw on them. Like,
we got a copy of the White Album, and it's a 70. I think it's a 70s pressing of it, but it's the same thing where it's got its little discoloration and it is kind of cool. It's like the album cover was boring at first, but through time they become more interesting. I don't know. I like that kind of shit. That's not really talking about the Ride the Lightning album cover, but we already talked about it.
That's contextual.
It does have like an epic feel to it. Just the logo itself, that's what I like about these things. There could be nothing here, and it's just like, you're in for some shit, buddy. Be prepared to have your mind blown.
Yeah.
So I like that kind of shit.
The thing I love about that album as well, it has the audacity to lull you into a false sense of security with that little acoustic intro on Fight Fire with Fire.
Yeah.
and then proceeds to rip your face off with the heaviest thing they've made yet. Like,
Yeah, we talked
like,
about album all day. Oh, I'm out of coffee. Hold on.
yeah,
We only had one overlap. That's kind of cool. It was. I thought maybe we would bump into each other a little more, but
that's the cool thing about this show is that we go into it expecting one thing and come out of it with a completely different result.
I don't think anybody was surprised by my choices. But I mean, there are other really great ones, but I started to really sort of look at the qualities of them, because there are some that I like, and I go, because neither one of us used the Slayer album cover, and it's not because they're bad album covers. Hell Awaits and Rain and Blood, South of Heaven, like they're all good covers, but they're just kind of like, there's nothing. Like if you said, describe what's going on in the Rain and Blood album cover, and I'm like, I don't know, there's a goat and some stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's not an image that's burned into your head. Like I can kind of see it in my brain. I'm not even going to put an image there. Everyone try to imagine the Rain and Blood album cover. There's a weird face on it at some point. I don't know. It's just it's nothing that stuck with me at all.
I find a lot of Slayer album covers are very cluttered, and the cool thing about that is every time you look at it, you find something new. But on the flip side, with it being so cluttered, there's not really any defining feature apart from like the Slayer pentagram.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like finding things in album covers. Eventually, when we talk about other 80s metal, I'll probably bring up Somewhere in Time by Iron Maiden, which has a whole lot of shit going on it, but it still has images that, I remember the Eddie from that album.
Yeah.
And so it's more of a, I don't know what it is, but I feel like with Slayer, the artwork kind of matched what they were doing, because there was a lot of chaos going on. And, but yeah, but there are some other covers where I just went, yeah, I guess now that I think about it, the quality of those isn't as good. It doesn't always have to be some big epic, complicated painting. It can be a fucking electric chair in the sky. Guys, we're gonna have an album cover. It's gonna be an electric chair in the fucking sky, man. You know what? I think those other album covers are fucking stock, man. I had to do it because there's so many times that like I pull out the Lars impression. It's not great. But,
what really gets my dick hard is
he has so many great lines. As much as people hate on him, there's so many quotable Lars things in all videos.
I think there's like a bunch of videos called stuff like Lars being unintentionally funny for 20 minutes straight. Like
oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
awesome.
We made it. We made it to our first video episode of Cranked and Ranked. Everybody, put your comments down below. What did you think? Do you want us? We'll probably keep doing these no matter what. But would you want the actual Cranked and Ranked podcast to be this? And along with the podcast version, they would end up being different because this is more conversational with all of our clearings of throats and stuff like that. Whereas when I do the podcast, I edit out little things to make it move smoother, and I would continue to do that. Because sometimes we talk over each other, and if I hear myself, I'll literally cut that part out so it's just you talking, and then it just sounds like we're so much better at having a conversation than it would on this.
I think probably for these short ones it would fit, but yeah, it's a fun little experiment we've tried out here.
Yeah.
On the Cranked and Ranked.
So yeah, so we might try doing the podcast this way too. It's weird. I almost feel like I want to be able to turn off my camera, but it still needs to film it. Because I don't want to look at myself. I'm trying just to focus on you. And
like periodically just be there like, So anyway,
I'm
then talk again.
I'm just gonna hang a piece of paper over my half of the screen, so I don't have to see myself. All right. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for this episode of Cranked and Ranked, the first video edition. Thank you all for watching. Eddie, you have any parting words for the people, the peeps?
I hope I'm a nice little bit of eye candy for you guys.
It's about time we had some eye candy on this channel. That's all I'm saying. All right. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys again very soon. Eddie, take us out.
Later, dude.